John Whittemore was born on September 19th, 1835, somewhere in Massachusetts, to Thomas and Lois Whittemore. He had three older siblings named Thomas Jr., Lois, and Joseph, and a younger brother named Benjamin. I couldn't find the only place I could find anything out about him was Find a Grave and Ancestry, and the most I could find was Ancestry confirming that yes, that is his parents and his siblings' names, and the order of when they were born. The only other thing the Ancestry led me to was the list of the book that has a list of naval casualties from the Revolutionary War to I think it's 1930 something. So that it didn't give me a whole lot of information, but it did basically confirm the information for who his family was. The other thing that I found was that he was in the Navy, and he was a third assistant engineer, and that he was stationed on the USS Mohican. Now, the Mohican was assigned to the African Squadron and departed Portsmouth on January 19th, 1860, and they headed for the South Atlantic. And the Mohican was actually, I want to say it had just been finished, they just finished building it a couple months before this, if not at least a year. So this is the paint's still fresh on it. And they set out to the South Atlantic. And I'm assuming that John was on there because it doesn't say if at some point he joined or if he was on the initial one, but I'm just going to assume that he was on the Mohican when it left in 1860. It would patrol for pirates and slavers off of the coasts of Africa, and sometimes it'd go to Brazil for a year and a half. I don't know how many pirate ships it caught, if it caught any at all. I don't know how many slaver ships it actually caught, because the only thing I could find on Find a Grave was one ship. Well, one slave ship named the Erie that was commanded by Nathaniel Gordon that they caught on August 8th off of the Congo, and they forced him to go to Monrovia, Liberia, and release the captives. On August 31st, 1861, they would make the return trip home, and it would take them a while, about a month, to get back because they wouldn't get back to Boston, Massachusetts until September 27th. So by the time they got back, the Civil War had started, and now their main focus is going to be, instead of looking for slaver and pirate ships, they're going to be more worried about Confederate ships and ships to come in to help them. She would join Flag Officer Samuel DuPont's South Atlantic Blockade Squadron that was located off of Sandy Hook, New Jersey. I don't know when the Mohican went down to Norfolk, because it doesn't have an exact date. It just says that they left Norfolk, Virginia on October 29th and headed for Port Royal, South Carolina. But I don't know when they went to Norfolk. I don't know why. I'm assuming because a lot of ships, even now, when they dock, they usually dock in Norfolk. But they would join up with DuPont's squadron, and they were the largest naval squadron assembled at that time. The Mohican would assist in the attack on Fort Walker on Hilton Head Island, which would result in the Confederate Army retreating and allowing the Union Army and Navy to land and occupy the base on November 7th, 1861. Now, of course, it was a fight, so the Mohican's not going to come out completely unscathed. It did get hit, and it did get damaged. It didn't get sunk, but it got damaged. It got hit 6 times during the fight, and it damaged the hull, which ended up injuring 7 people, but it killed John Whittemore. And John Whitmore's body would be sent back home, and he would be buried at Mount Auburn Cemetery in Cambridge, Middlesex County, Massachusetts. And I've only been to Massachusetts once, and I don't think it was anywhere close to where he's buried, so I'm not sure how this cemetery would be laid out, but he's located at the Surreal Path, Lot 2007. So I don't know, like a lot of these. So some of the ones that are in my hometown would be easier to go and look to see exactly how they're laid out, but every cemetery's different as to how they want to do it. Like there's a cemetery that in my town that everybody confuses as just one big huge cemetery. It's 2 different cemeteries because of the way it's laid off. It's literally got one road splitting it that's more like an alley. But yep, so that's it for John Whitmore. It didn't really get used. It was only used for the Civil War, but the Mohican would be sent off for repairs, and it would basically be repaired, and they would use it till the end of the Civil War, and then it would be basically decommissioned and never used again. Because as far as right now, I don't have anybody else that was on the Mohican that passed away. Like there's others. There's a few ships that might have gotten damaged during the war and fixed up and stuff like that. But on my list so far, John Whitmore is the only one that was on there because, like I said, it didn't really get I don't think it got used a whole lot. I didn't put down what all else it did after his passing. I just know it got sent off to get reused because it did get decommissioned after the war. Alright, so not a whole lot on him. Sometimes it's kind of hit or miss with the earlier wars because of how well somebody did their research. Like not just me, but the people that have the information out there. Right, so it's just on to the next soldier. Right, thanks. Bye.